There is a secret behind every story that goes viral. And it's not talent or luck. It's simple 6 storytelling moves that anyone can learn. I discovered them after watching a 20-second clip that made millions of people stop scrolling. No flashy edits, no dramatic music, just words that pulled you in. For the longest time, I thought I wasn't interesting enough to tell stories people care about. But once I understood what really makes a story work, everything changed. A few months ago, I stumbled across an interview with John Krasinski. You probably know him as Jim from The Office. He was telling this short, almost throwaway story about meeting a customs officer who didn't recognize his wife, Emily Blunt. It lasted maybe 20 seconds, yet the entire audience was glued to him. Now, there was nothing particularly dramatic about it. No car crashes, no music, no fancy camera angles, but it worked. And it worked because he was unknowingly using the 6 storytelling techniques that makes ordinary moments unforgettable. So before I break them down, watch this short clip.
And he said, says here that you're an actor. And I said, yeah. And he said, would I know you from anything? And I went, you know, we redid the UK version of The Office, strike 1. He was like, oh.
I hated that version.
You took what we did perfect. And then I said, yeah. And he says, who are you visiting here? And I said, my wife. And he says, is she an actress? And I said, yeah. He said, would I know her? And I don't know, man. Her name's Emily Blunt. He goes, you? And I went, yeah. And he goes, you married Emily Blunt. And I go, yeah. And he goes like this. Okay, go. Let's go. Like, the stamp was so hard. I was like, I'm so sorry.
Not breaking eye contact, like following that.
All right, did you notice what he did there? He didn't summarize events. He zoomed into the moment. He made you feel like you were standing next to him, hearing every awkward pause and laugh. Let's unpack exactly what made that story magnetic. The first technique is location. The best stories start with a place. 2 weeks ago, I am standing in the airport queue. Simple, instantly visual. When you give people a location, they start building the world in their own head. They picture their version of an airport, a conference room, a cafe, and now they're inside your story. Just don't overdo it. You don't need to describe the carpet pattern or the chair color. One strong location cue is enough to anchor them. The second technique is action. What are you doing in that exact moment? I hand over my passport. I take a deep breath. I open up my laptop. Did you notice? Verbs. Verbs give momentum. They create momentum and keep the audience following the thread. The moment you describe an action, the listener senses motion, and motion keeps attention alive. The third technique is thoughts. What's going on inside your head? We all have the inner monologue, the hopes, the fears, the random self-talk. Sharing those unfiltered thoughts makes stories human. So instead of saying, I was nervous, say, I thought, man, he's going to think I'm lying. That tiny shift takes your audience from spectator to participant. The fourth technique is emotion. Every story needs feelings, but rather than telling us how you felt, show it. Instead of saying, I was relieved, say, I leaned back in my chair and let out this massive sigh. Instead of saying he was angry, say he slammed his pen and glared at the clock. When you make emotions visible, the audience feel them too. The fifth technique is dialogue. People remember conversations, not summaries. Use dialogues to inject life and rhythm. So here's a small comparison. Listen to this. My manager said he was happy with my work. On the other hand, he looked at me and said, that was the best thing you have done all year. Real words hit harder than any phrases. And sixth technique is contrast. This is the one which most people miss. Great storytelling shifts energy. They build tension and then flip it. Serious to funny, calm to chaotic, doubt to relief. That emotional swing is what makes the listener's brain light up. It is the heartbeat of the storyteller. Now that you know the 6 moves, let's see them in action again. This time in the story by Sarah Willingham, the British entrepreneur and CEO of Nightcap. Watch this 1-minute clip.
So in my mid-20s, I was running acquisitions for Pizza Express and walked into a meeting room. I was 2 minutes late for the meeting. And the person on the opposite side of the table, the lawyer, looked up and said, "Oh, thank goodness for that. Mine's white with 1 sugar, please." So I thought, okay, this is a moment. Walked round to the coffee, made him his coffee, put the coffee in front of him and said, "Would anybody else like a coffee?" And nobody said anything. Nobody wanted one. I made myself a coffee and then sat back down again opposite him. And as he looked up, I watched the colour drain from his face as he realised this enormous assumption that he'd made. And it was such a beautiful moment in my career, really empowering, when I sat there and realised that actually this moment where I'd had imposter syndrome anyway, running a meeting like this, but I'd been completely misjudged by the people on the opposite side of the table, was actually this incredible superpower. Because guess who walked out with the deal?
Did you catch it? She opened with location, a meeting room in her 20s. She described her action, walking in 2 minutes late. She gave us her thoughts, that inner voice saying, okay, this is a moment. Her emotions was visible, the quiet confidence, and she made coffee for the man who assumed she was the assistant. She included the dialogue. She included like when he said, "Oh, mine's white with 1 sugar, please." And finally, she used contrast, awkward to empower. That emotional shift made her closing line land like a punch. So here's what this all means. Storytelling isn't about performance or polish. It's about presence. When you stop summarizing your life and start zooming into moments, your words stop sounding rehearsed and start feeling real. These 6 moves, location, action, thoughts, emotion, dialogue, and contrast, turns even the smallest story into something people feel. And here's where it gets interesting. If you're an influencer or a creator trying to master the storytelling to connect with your audience and also thinking about monetization and how you can grow, we have built a free calculator that shows exactly how much you could be earning with your current following. So click in the link in the description and run your numbers and see how much you could already be making from your audience. And I'll see you in the next video where we will go even deeper into how to tell stories that make people stop scrolling and start remembering you.